Jeff Kent elected to the Hall of Fame, getting 14 of 16 votes from the Contemporary Era Committee. Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens both fell short again. They could, I think the next time that they can be considered is now 2028 because of the way they've reconfigured that that Contemporary Era thing. Wiggy, I know you feel strongly about this.
Yep.
I just am so tired of judging guys. There are people in every sport who have done things that are pushing the limit on competition, that some call it cheating, some call it, Wiggy calls it getting an edge. I find it hard to believe that Barry Bonds, I'll include Clemens in it also, Barry Bonds belongs in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Man,
it's ridiculous to have it without him.
It is so dumb. He was a Hall of Famer before, in the whole steroid era. I think all those guys in the steroid era, I mean, there has to be guys in the Hall of Fame that played during that era. And I don't know who did something, who didn't do something. I know whether or not, just looking at guys, Barry Bonds is a Hall of Famer. Roger Clemens is a Hall of Famer. I don't need that. Curt Schilling is a Hall of Famer. I don't care about what his political beliefs are or what he says. What have you done on the football field? But that's what I look at.
I hear what you're saying.
In this case, the diamond.
Right.
Yes, the diamond.
Yes,
Sorry about that.
Yes.
My question is, though, just devil's advocate, one of the guys who played in that era didn't cheat. What does this say to them? So if I had just cheated, I would have been honored the same way Ted Williams was, the same way Hank Aaron was. I don't know. They have been able to keep every dollar they were paid. They haven't gone to jail. They haven't given up their freedom, but they blatantly cheated. Mm-hmm. And they set records that bastardized the one thing that baseball had over every other sport, which is the connection to its past with records and stats and everything else.
Yeah.
So
but then guys cheat back in the day, though, and the cheating that they did back in the day wasn't like.
What's the definition of pornography?
Well, wasn't it pine tar and the way loaded bats?
No, but I'm just saying.
Cork bats.
But the definition of pornography is you know it when you see it. And what this was not your basic spitball or a corked bat. This was two guys that corked their body full of testosterone and anabolic steroids.
But isn't cheating?
Exactly.
A cork bat is if guys were using cork bat back in the days or whatever they were using.
Nope. If you get pulled over for going 60, it's different than getting pulled over for going 100.
No, the only difference is that the speeding ticket's going to cost you more money.
Right. The penalty is more severe. There is a difference.
Yeah. But I think I don't subscribe to that because there are guys who've cheated that are in the Hall of Fame, right? So if we're going to start saying the severity of how people cheat is all right, this guy, because he did.
But that's the whole process of electing people to a Hall of Fame. It's not, as I said, nothing is being taken from them. They decided to cheat, and they're being punished by not getting in the Hall of Fame.
But what percentage of guys do you think were not juicing?
Right.
I have no idea. And it's the players' fault, though. The players fought testing. Yeah. If the players had gotten testing, then we don't even have this conversation.
Lie detector test, how many people are in the Hall of Fame that were juicing from that period of time?
There are
a lot.
There are probably some, right. I would think.
Yeah. I mean, and these guys are Hall of Famers. All right, so if Barry Bonds is hitting 400 feet home runs, and then he juices up and he's hitting them 450, what the hell's the difference? I get the part of guys.
The difference is people aren't hitting 70 home runs anymore. People aren't it was a great era. It helped
he
baseball.
Was hitting 50. Sorry, so he's hitting 50. He goes from hitting 50 to 70. I get it.
Right, that'd be 20 more.
Yeah, but it's still a massive number.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he went from hitting 10 home runs to hitting 70.
Yeah, but growing up, there was a number. It was 62. It's what you thought of. You had Maris, you had Ruth, you had these guys, and they arrived, and they just made a joke of it.
You're a purist. You and Bradfield, purists.
Well,
Purists.
I mean, I just think that we have to. At some point, they're not victims, and yet they want you to believe they are. They chose to do something against the rules,
right?
And they're being punished for it.
Yeah. Now, I will say, because of Rob Manfred, Pete Rose will be eligible December 2027. So,
like Courtney says, it's too late. Should have gave that man his flowers while he was still alive. Yeah. I get Curtis. I get your point where you cheated and it affected your performance. Like, I get that part of it, but I just look at in baseball at that time, Major League Baseball had no problem with these guys juicing because look what it was doing for the game of baseball. People loved it. I remember watching that home run derby at Fenway Park.
I was there. I was booing. I said, "You're probably on steroids."
So excited to see that home run derby when it was McGuire, Canseco, these guys that were
Sosa, Sammy Sosa.
Were excuse me, Sosa, not Canseco. These
Ted
guys
Kennedy called him Sammy Souster.
These guys that were juicing out of their mind, but they made the game interesting. And I understand it's different, but it's like the Dodgers, right? The Dodgers spend a ton of money, but they're making the game interesting. Like, people are watching it.
The players would have a leg to stand on if Roger Clemens was fighting for testing for steroids. The only way that they can be a victim is by saying that they had wanted this to be done. But we all know Brian McNamee. We all know Balco. We all know what those guys were interested in. And it was worse that Bonds was a Hall of Famer before he cheated. What does that tell the guy who's trying to break into the big leagues the right way, that not only is the guy that's 10 times more talented than me already there, he's now going to get 100 times better than me because he's just choosing to cheat.
But that's it. But you're that guy who comes up that way. Listen, I was played in the NFL. There were probably steroids going on.
Bill Romanowski.
They were going on when I was playing. But I was too nervous that, hey, I didn't want to get suspended. I didn't want to get caught because I thought that would be it. So I get it that there might have been some guys go and ain't fair, and I get the part of it. When it comes to the Hall of Fame, I feel like at that time, I don't know who was doing it, but there were a lot of people. Baseball, the commissioner, they were turning in a blind eye to it because it was making baseball relevant and fun because you had the home run record chase between those guys.
All right, Wiggy, thank you very much.